We are moving on to our next international speaker, Špela Spanžela, and she is the representing Ministry of Culture of Republic of Slovenia, Secretary of the Directorate of Cultural Heritage, and she's also a member of the editorial group of the Davos Declaration and Davos Quality System. So probably we're going to hear a little bit more about this mythical Davos activity that we've been talking about lately. Un tiem, kas runā latviski vai kuriem ir grūtības angliski, tad atgādinu, Zoom platformā ir iespēja klausīties skrivenieku nodrošināto translāciju. Un jums uzstāsies Špela Spanžela, Slovēnijas Kultūras ministrijas kultūras mantojuma direkcija, Davosas deklarācijas un Davosas kvalitātes sistēmas līdzautore. Un viņas prezentācija būs Mūsdienu izaicinājumi, kas saistīti ar apbūvēto vidē, kā Eiropas uzmanība Būvkultūrai var palīdzēt to atrisināt. And your presentation is going to be titled Contemporary Challenges Associated to Our Built Environment. How can Europe's attention to Būvkultūra help? So, hi Špela, we are waiting for your presentation and introduction.
Hello, thank you very much. I hope you see the presentation now.
Yes,
thank you very much.
You can begin.
Excellent. Thank you so much. First, allow me to thank the organizers. My first thanks goes to BIBA for the invitation. And I'm really glad to be here with you, although in virtual form. I would also like to congratulate you on the event. Usually it's not so open that we discuss different initiatives, different programs that are official, that have different denominations. Maybe it's also because we are the two small nations and we're engaged in so many activities. Well, the same persons, we sit in many boards and so on, so we see the interlinkages. So I really wanted to thank you for this. I think it's extremely important to try to find common ground for practical activities. So this is something that I'm also going to speak about. So I wanted to tell you something about the Davos process, as we call it, because it was developed gradually, and you will see how. And I maybe want to share some background, how it came about that we designed such a tool, and maybe to inspire you not to be so stiff, as it was the English word used during the first presentation, and Eva started with that. You needn't be so official and so scared of all these concepts flying around and so on. So this is something to inspire you also to look at the activities and to take all these initiatives as a guidance, as a practical tool, and maybe also to get some new ideas on how to approach some of the issues. This was the starting point of our discussions. We wanted to talk about the building culture, so the whole concept that actually is attached and encompasses not only the physical materialization, but all activities that actually happen before something is being built or renovated or refurbished or rehabilitated and so on. So everything that has spatial impact, so to speak. We decided to look at built environment as a whole package, so to speak, and to try to allow to have different possibilities and different cases. There are different cases around Europe, but they have common denominators. So if the Swiss village doesn't look familiar to you, you have your own rural settlements that might be the case for reflection. So this was our method, and we wanted to talk about what is quality And you will see later on how, because it developed into an assessing of quality through a system. And it was quite clear from the start that we want to come up with some tool to measure it. Because when we started talking about the quality, everyone says, how can you define quality? Something can be good or bad, something can be useful or not, something can be beautiful or not. So it was quite evident from the start that we will have to deal with quality. Well, the result of the deliberation was, as you know, the informal meeting of ministers of culture that was attached to the Council of Europe framework. So it's larger, it spans beyond the EU. And it was, funnily enough, it received much attention, let's say, in Canada, and in some other countries that really wanted to join, and some of them actually came to Davos. The context was the European Year of Cultural Heritage, and it was perfectly organized by the Swiss Confederation in liaison with the World Economic Forum. So it was another matter, and I could tell you a lot of funny stories over the coffee about this cooperation. It was the international group of experts that we received an invitation from the gentleman that many of you know, Mr. Oliver Martin, from the Federal Office of Culture. And it's not to remember our names, but just to show you that we came from all over Europe with different backgrounds and with different day jobs, if you want. I would like to emphasize the Bundesstiftung Baukultur, so the German colleagues who know the concepts, and they have been living it actively, if I can say, the whole Baukultur in the German-speaking areas. And then we had a private investor with us. We had Benedikt Selslag from ICOMOS, who was also the co-author of the quality principles that were referred to before. And we had the only English speaker, was our colleague from the UK, with an extensive experience also with private investor and with investments that English Heritage is carrying out. So just to remind you, I'm not going to go through the slide, but just to remind you why the Davos Declaration happened. It was to basically recognize the crucial contribution of our built environment it has on us, to be very short. So to have cultural and societal influences, individually and collectively. We all look around, already built quarters and so on. And we wanted to really emphasize that everyone has the right to have a cultural environment, and this affects our society, as I've said. This is precisely why it was the cultural ministers and why this is defined as a cultural activity, although we don't forget our colleagues in the planning services and the environment services, of course. So the point is that culture has a central role to play because of its approach to the built environment, because of the view of the way how we collectively shape the places we live in and what we leave behind. So the concept of Baukultur, again, is everything. It's every human activity. It starts with planning. It starts with consultations with the public, planning documents and so on, so that we're not so that we don't find ourselves in where everything is settled and then the architects can only build the house with this or that facade and with this or that design. This is an exaggeration, but this is why this was really emphasized a lot. And we wanted to introduce our vision for high quality Baukultur, not only quality, but high quality Baukultur that actually fulfills functional, technical, and economic requirements, but not only this, also people's social and psychological needs. And these are then the benefits of the society. This is why the ministers committed to a number of activities. But as you see, the preamble of the Davos Declaration that I'm showing, it's much larger than the commitments, than the political commitments of the ministers. Of course, these are the political commitments that are made, that were signed or adopted, and it's basically it comes back to the reality as we all know it. So it's about the mainstreaming and promoting the ideas and implementing it as much as one can in their own country. I just wanted to say that we had a long list of that is also reflected in the preamble of the Davos Declaration, but we came to 4 commitments that were that the minister committed to. It's about the mainstreaming and implementing better policies, and this is happening as we also heard from the 2 previous speakers. And we're now at the stage 3 and 4 of the commitments. We are talking to private stakeholders, with private entities, with lobbying organizations and so on, with investors and real estate. And I can tell you that this is a whole other world. Different languages are spoken, and the figures, the money there in the private sector is incredible. So this is how we have to make the link, because the big real decisions that shape our environment are taken there. And I can also say that the new ministerial conference is coming up, and this is something that I will end my presentation with. So just to remind ourselves, there was a number of issues discussed, and even during the preparation for the Davos meeting 2018, we tried to select some cases of, and this is our small public place, the integrated Savsko naselja neighborhood from the socialist time, actually. This is how the Davos process was designed. First, it was the declaration. Next year, it was the conference in Geneva that was dedicated to exactly getting the measure of Būvkultūrai, how quality can be measured. And then the 8 criteria for high quality Būvkultūrai were developed. Within the system, again, some of us continued our work. And I like this slide because it actually shows that how we were juggling with different principles and how we decided what to use, what to merge, what to emphasize, and how they are intertwined and interconnected. So what is the concept behind the quality system? Very, very briefly. We want to talk about, again, high quality of the physical space and the quality of the processes, as well as the capacity of the actors involved. Sometimes this really differs. So the objective of this is to base our assessment on common denominators, and of course they are connected to quality values. So we developed a questionnaire, and this is why I'm also showing the case studies, because during the preparation of the quality system, we did some testing with some real case. With some real cases, and I really wanted to test how the tool would be appropriate and useful for different groups. So I asked our colleagues from the Heritage Agency, one private architectural bureau, our colleagues from the Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning. So we also tested different cases, a heritage place, new development, intervention into urban settlement, and so on. what actually came out of it, that this tool has to be flexible, because otherwise we lose one or the other target group. When we started developing this questionnaire, it was very dangerous that we would come to some sort of, ISO standard process, and this was, of course, then quickly abandoned. The other extreme was that we would just hand out points, like the decanter wine. If you get 95 points, then it's okay. But then we realized that we would use one or the other target group. Again, everything needs to be done in dialogue and exchange. And I know this sounds very naive, but this is the only way we can breach our own limits also. And the scope, how this quality system can be used, is exactly in practical ways. Complement existing processes, acts, find ways to implement it in general level, in the recommendation way, or maybe to put it in some subsidiary act. So we have 3 products, as I can say. We have the assessment form, we have the 8 criteria explain in a condensed way, and then we have the whole story, and everything is posted online. And this is how you can see it. So this is how it works. Just quickly to show you. You have first the explanation, and you have the link to Davos declaration, to the article, and then you have the principle explained, and then you have the key questions. And the key questions are actually the ones that you are then using. We selected key questions to help you think about what principle really manifests in. And this is how you can then go through the whole thing. Very briefly, I'm going to show you the 8 principles. We said already...
I just wanted to say that you can be very brief, that
yes.
the time is running out. Yeah.
Yes. So we have governments. It's about participation. It's the functionality. Of course, you need to fit the purpose. You have to pay attention to environment, including climate change mitigation. We didn't forget about economy, of course. But it's long-term investments over short-term economic gain. It's about connecting people. It's about mixed uses that allow for diverse groups to be. It's about context. This was a tough one, because the spatial coherence in our built environment is a big issue. Sense of place, which is actually very, very close to the previous one, but it's actually the emotional approach. It's the attachment. And another one, it's beauty. And we had big discussions on that as well. If it's beauty or if it's aesthetics and so on, but then we said beauty, and then a year later, NEP came with beauty as a slogan, and we were very, very happy with it. So this is how it works. You choose your place, gather data. If it's done in groups, even more, you can access the form, discover the criteria, answer the question, reflect, and so on. And this is how you draw your conclusions. The colleagues are doing all sorts of different studies. A lot of different studies were done all over Europe, and they will also be posted on the website. I can't emphasize enough the huge work that was done within the OMC group, experts of states, of EU states and beyond. And this is the document, the report towards a shared culture of architecture. that actually embrace the Davos Declaration and the quality system, and also took into account the European quality principle for funded interventions. This was a huge work done, and with all sorts of case studies, example of good practices, and it's a beautiful inspiration for you if you want to see it how it goes. We also organized a conference, it's called Building Europe, during in the context of our presidency, and we tried to link some of these initiatives also in the council conclusions. And this was quite a task, this was quite a challenge, because we wanted to do exactly that, to acknowledge huge work done in the OMC group, expert work done. We wanted to include NEP, which was, of course, the European Commission's wish. But we also wanted to have a substance document actually talking about concepts and qualities and why it matters. I want to share with you that we try and we test and we see how the concepts and how the message that we are actually delivering through the Davos, or maybe through NEP, can be applied to some of the other projects. And this year it's the 150th anniversary of Jože Plečnik's birth, and some of his selected works were inscribed on the World Heritage List last year. And I can tell you that the big issue that we have now is the heritage impact assessment of all the interventions that are going on in the World Heritage Site. And this is where I'm also using the Davos principles to say what is good and bad, and of course complement it with UNESCO framework and ICOMOS expert base. So I'm finishing with the last slide, with announcements of the second conference of ministers. It was made official just 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So January 2023 in Davos again. After 5 years, we are going to take a look of what was done, where we developed. We want to stress the private dimension, as I've said, and the discussion on the label and on the forum is also ongoing. So you will have more information soon, and if there's anything I can help you with, or maybe give you additional information and not rushing through the presentation, I would be glad to do, and you have my direct contacts there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Špela. Thank you very much for your presentation. It seems that the principles are now totally covered today. So we should be able to distinguish them from any other principles. I have this little quickie question about the upcoming Davos events. If I'm not a European Minister for Culture, can I participate?
Yes, you can participate. It was an NGO. It was a good participation also from the NGO side. It is true that the first conference invited the networks. Of course, the all-known Europa Nostra was there, but also Council of Europe was there, ICOMOS was there, also actively participating. And as I've said, it's still in the air how the connection to the World Economic Forum will go, and I'm not going to go into dirty details because culture is just one of the side events, as you know, before the very important stuff begins. But we will certainly be sharing information on that. So.
Yeah, thank you very much for your answer. I actually have another question that is not very much related to your presentation, but to you as a representative from Slovenia. And the question stuck to me from the very beginning, and it's related to this notoriously famous stiffness, or I would rather actually call it as a reasonable precaution. And there's a new thing coming, and people might be a little bit taking a break from this and just observing what the new European Bauhaus is bringing. And the question is probably the only chance for me to ask the question to you. The question is, how do you fight it, or how do you cope with this precautious feeling in Slovenia?
You mean about the new European Bauhaus in particular, or the whole
just
movement?
Dedicated to new European Bauhaus.
Yes, well...
How to make people more open, and how do you do it in Slovenia, and what are probably also the hurdles, the obstacles that you have?
Yes, well, first of all, unrightly so, probably. So, you know, I don't want to be too critical. EU has a good mechanism, a good infrastructure, services, a lot of money, you know. The PR is incredible, the information is flowing, so it's very difficult to keep up. And sometimes it seems that there's a lot of this outside and a little less on the substantive side. But this is why I also appreciated this seminar, this symposium, because it's very important to talk about substance. And if we don't have substance, if we have only some sort of outside incentives, this can get lost. So, of course, it's important to have projects, to have funding, but what are those projects made of? So I liked very much when Eva said, you know, this is an opportunity to realize some of the long-standing problems or issues or projects and so on. This is a tool and use it. For my country, I can say that we've had quite a discussion about the focal point, about the cooperation, about the notorious competencies and of one or other organ or agencies, you know, and the new European Bauhaus is something that absolutely is cross-sectoral and transversal, and any of these terms used. I can say that there was a lot of interest from our Ministry of Education, in particular research. They actually wanted to to have the overview, because they saw this high-tech dimension feeds in the new European Bauhaus very, very strongly. So it's not about architecture only, but it has all sorts of different inputs. We have quite a lot of partners from the ground. Some of the best things, if I can say so, happened really independently of the ministries or the government agencies and so on. And this actually gives me hope, I have to say. So we will see where it goes. But as you said, the type of the event that we are having today will probably be something that is going to be very practical, and it's going to advocate the message of the new European Bauhaus in a more straightforward way, and not with infographic, but actually to talk about it, why and how we can gain from it.
So if our initiative seemingly fits the new European Bauhaus criteria, we just do our little thing. We don't kind of communicate with the cultural Ministry of Culture and asking for the permission. We just do the thing, and we know that already is an important initiative.
Yes, because now it was the festival, the New European Festival open call was now open, you know, and there were a lot of activities that actually could fit in. And I know that also NGOs and operators from the ground did apply. So this is something what is also important, you know, to have your content and then try to fit it into this framework. So it's not like we say in Slovenia, it's not the bow, it's not the boogeyman that is scary, but you know, go the other way, I would say. And this is what we are doing with Plečnik, and this is why I showed you, because we did the UNESCO nomination, and it was a huge process. But we found out so many different players that this is something that it's absolutely useful for the years to come.
Okay, thank you, Špela, for your presentation and also explanation. I'm going to say bye to you for now.